Ladies and gentlemen, good day and welcome to the Q4 FY21 earnings call of GHCL Limited, hosted by Emkay Global Financial Services. We have with us today Mr. R.S. Jalan, Managing Director, and Mr. Raman Chopra, CFO and Executive Director, Finance. As a reminder, all participant lines will be in listen-only mode, and there will be an opportunity for you to ask questions after the presentation concludes. Should you need assistance during the conference call, please signal an operator by pressing star, then 0 on your touchtone telephone. Please note that this conference is being recorded. I would now like to hand the conference over to Mr. Rohit Sinha of Emkay Global. Thank you, and over to you, sir.
Good evening, everyone. I would like to welcome the management of GHCL and thank them for giving us this opportunity. I shall now hand over the call to the management for the opening remarks. Over to you, gentlemen.
Thank you, Rohit. My name is R.S. Jalan. I welcome everyone to today's earnings call for the quarter and the year ended March 31st, 2021. With me, I have Raman, our CFO, along with Manu and Abhishek from the corporate finance team. The analyst presentation has been shared in advance on the stock exchange website. We all are going through a difficult period due to the current second wave of COVID-19 pandemic. The need of the hour is to remain safe. The priority for GHCL is more about safety of our employees. We have taken several initiatives, including vaccination of our employees and their families. FY21 has been an unprecedented year. During H1, economic and business were severely impacted. Thereafter, business activity started to recover on backdrop of improved customer sentiment and vaccination program. As of now, a nationwide lockdown has been ruled out, but several regional restrictions are in place. However, our plants are operating with minimal disruption. We concluded the year on a positive note with Q4 revenue and PAT growth of 12% and 30% respectively. Part of this growth is attributable to lockdown imposed during last week of March in previous year. However, due to COVID, our full year sales and PAT declined by 13% and 24% respectively. Our soda ash front, global demand revived across key regions. Import into India has been reduced by around 14% during Q4 and by around 25% for the full year 2021. Average pricing for the quarter declined by just 1% over Q3 21. The flat glass industry witnessed better demand scenario and also due to anti-dumping duty on import of Malaysian goods. The container glass industry is still lagging behind due to lack of demand from the tourism and hospitality sectors. The detergent industry continues to be stable. The industry have already reached a pre-COVID level, and with the start of summer this season, it may get further boost in the demand. Textile industry continues to perform well, and industry is operating at a high utilization level. Our order remains strong on account of many U.S. corporate continuing work from home offices in 2021. Spinning business also performed well due to strong domestic demand and high prices of yarn. With our focus on value-added products, we achieved better realization for the product mix. We anticipate buoyancy in the textile business to continue as business prospects for the near future looks good. Our future growth strategy is based on several initiatives. In soda ash, we are pursuing product basket expansion, debottlenecking, augmenting backward capabilities, and doubling the sodium bicarbonate capacity. We have initiated our digital journey, and enablers such as AI and IoT will enhance our capacity and capability in medium to long term. In the textile business, our growth strategy is around expansion of the spinning business and green energy with focus on our customers, value-added products, cost optimization, and asset utilization. I will now share an update on the demerger as directed by the NCLT. we conducted requisite shareholders meeting on 8th of April 2021, wherein our shareholders and unsecured creditors accorded their consent on the scheme. Secured creditors meeting is now scheduled on 8th July 2021. Thus, the revised timeline for the scheme to conclude should be around early November 2021. With our focus on several business initiatives, we foresee better times going ahead. This should help us realize our growth inspiration and also deliver value creation for our shareholders. I would now request Raman to share an update on the financial performance.
Thank you very much, Mr. Jalan. Good evening, everyone, and a very warm welcome once again. I hope you all are safe and healthy during this tough and challenging time. Let me share the financial highlights for the quarter and fiscal year ended March 31, 2021. The impact of COVID is clearly visible in our results for the year as a whole. While the top line and the profits declined in the half one of the fiscal year, we were able to reverse this trend and achieve healthy growth and margin in the second half of the year. Revenue for the quarter came in at 821 crore as compared to 734 crore in the corresponding quarter last year. This is a growth of 12% year-on-year basis. For the full year, we reported a revenue of 2,850 crore, which is lower by around 13% over the previous year. EBITDA for the quarter stood at 195 crore, which is a significant increase of 21% from rupees 161 crore achieved during last year. For the full year, EBITDA declined by around 15% to 646 crore from 763 crore. The profit after tax for the quarter stood at 104 crore compared to 80 crore in the quarter 4 of previous year. For the full year, the PAT stood at 310 crore, which is a decline of around 24% from FY20. In the previous year, there was a provision for tax was lower due to reversal of deferred tax liability, and we got a credit of almost 52 crore in the last year. In the inorganic chemical business, we achieved a revenue of 531 crore for the quarter, which is an increase of 2% from rupees 519 crore in the corresponding quarter of last year. EBITDA for the year, for the quarter stood at 142 crore compared to 162 crore. During this period, we achieved a volume growth while our realization declined by around 4% from the last year. After several quarters, the pricing stabilized and declined by just 1% over Q3 of FY21. The robust performance of our textile business has been due to strong demand and high prices of yarn. The revenue for the quarter stood at 290 crore, which is a growth of 35% as compared to 214 crore in the corresponding quarter of last year. EBITDA came at rupees 53 crore, which represent a healthy margin of over 18% against a break-even EBITDA in the corresponding quarter of last year. For the year, we generated 449 crore in cash profit after tax. Gross debt reduced significantly by 472 crore rupees, and at the end of the year, our debt stood at only rupees 768 crore. Leverage in the business is at a very comfortable level of just 0.29:1, which is our net debt to equity ratio. During the year, we spent around 110 crore on capex, which was mainly focused on growth. With our continuous focus, working capital requirement were also reduced by almost 79 crore during the year. Despite being a challenging year, GSL has been able to deliver well. The board has recommended a dividend of 55% on a paid up equity capital, which is in line with our dividend payout policy. As Mr. Jalan has already mentioned earlier, we are committed to grow our business. We have identified several initiatives through which we plan to achieve our future growth plans. With this, I conclude my comments. In this difficult situation, I would request each one of you to stay safe and remain healthy. Now I would request the moderator to open the forum for question and answer. Thank you all.
Thank you very much. We will now begin the question and answer session. Anyone who wishes to ask a question may press star and 1 on their touchtone telephone. If you wish to remove yourself from the question queue, you may press star and 2. Participants are requested to use handsets while asking a question. Ladies and gentlemen, we will wait for a moment while the question queue assembles. The first question is from the line of Rohit Nagraj from Sunidhi Securities. Please go ahead.
Yeah, thanks for the opportunity and congrats on a good set of numbers despite being challenging times. So my first question is on our strategy in terms of growth. So if I'm looking at our presentation on slide number 17, we have given what is our target. And in that, we have specified that we would like to grow profits at a CAGR of 15 to 18% on a long-term horizon. So what is the understanding of long-term horizon and what is the path that we are expected to follow to achieve this particular target? Thank you.
Mr. Rohit, thank you very much for asking this question. Let me try to give you the thought of the management. On one side, in our soda ash business, we have been growing by the brownfield expansion, and still one set of expansion is still under process, and that will get completed this year. On the other side, we are also, as you know, that we are also pursuing a new greenfield project for soda ash expansion. Because in the soda ash business today, our market share is around 25%. And we would like to enhance our market share in the soda ash business going forward. In addition to that, also, we are expanding our sodium bicarbonate because sodium bicarbonate has a good future going forward. Because of the pandemic, this flue gas treatment, the sodium bicarbonate has not been used. But hopefully, coming quarters, the people will start trying to use this sodium bicarbonate. We see a good opportunity in sodium bicarbonate. So we are expanding, doubling the capacity of sodium bicarbonate also. In addition to that, we are also looking at some product basket. If you see in my statement, which I said, of course, we have not yet identified which product basket, but we are definitely looking at in the chemical space some product basket which matches with our core competency, which matches our kind of a business. We are looking at that opportunity. So that's on the chemical side. Of course, in addition to that, we are also looking at backward integration and some of them in the raw material side. So that helps in terms of stabilizing the raw material side. This is on the soda ash or the chemical side. On the textile side, as you will notice that, which I have said, we are also looking at spinning. Our historically, if you look at our spinning business, has always been a good return. We are expanding in the spinning business, and also we are investing into the green energy also. So both the sides, after the merger also, both the business will continue to grow, as which we have said in the long term, medium to long term, our goal is to grow bottom line by 15 to 18%. That is our mission, and I'm sure that we will be able to achieve that objective.
Yeah, thank you so much for that explanation. So my second question is in terms of the overall industry structure currently. So how are we looking at the global soda ash scenario in terms of capacity expansion, in terms of import of the products, and general understanding the overall industry and our outlook for the next 1 to 2 years? Thank you.
See, if you look at in 2021, global demand definitely has got a serious impact because of this pandemic in the first half. But the second half, the recovery has started happening globally. Across the globe, barring 1 or 2 countries, the demand recovery has been good. In terms of the expansion, at this point of time, we are not seeing in the next 2 years any major expansion coming in. And that is the reason we see definitely a good set of demand growth led by, I would say, no major expansion coming in to create a kind of a good pricing for the soda ash. That is number one. Yes, in the long run, you know that around 3% of the global demand growth will take place, which is roughly comes to around 2 million tons. And that is what ultimately this growth of 2 million has to happen. And therefore, some of the, like US, some of the manufacturers are looking at debottlenecking or making an investment. Similarly, some of the Chinese manufacturers are also expanding. So this 2 million kind of expansion will take place. But my understanding is next 2 years should be reasonably good for the soda ash industry.
Thanks a lot, and I'll come back in the queue.
Sure.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Kaushal Shah from Danki Securities. Please go ahead.
Thank you very much, sir, for the opportunity. Hope everybody is safe in GHCL. Sir, I had two questions. One was, pertaining to the soda ash business. You mentioned that you are debottlenecking the capacity. So what will it add in terms of tonnage, and when this new capacity will be available, and the capex on that front for doubling of sodium bicarb also. And the second question was on the textile front. Do you anticipate some pressure on the spinning side because there is this renewed second wave of COVID which has impacted I think exports of cotton also. That is what we hear. So is that likely to kind of put pressure on yarn as well as cotton prices and maybe impact our margins?
Thank you very much. Let me give you first answer which you spoke about what is the additional volume which will be coming in. It will be around 50,000 ton, and that will likely to be completed during this year. Maybe some benefit we will maybe getting in the last quarter of this year, but full benefit will be coming next year. Sodium bicarbonate, and approximately the investment will be roughly around 300 crores. And the sodium bicarbonate, like I said, we are expanding to double the capacity. Investment will not be very large, but hopefully this investment or the production will come maybe next year, middle of the year next year. In terms of the textile, my understanding is that because of this geopolitical situation and the changing Chinese cotton issue globally, I think there is a structural change into the textile business, which I see slightly longer term. And because of that, good demand has been coming into Bangladesh, India, and Vietnam. And that is leading to kind of a better margin for the spinning industries. In terms of the cotton prices, let me tell you, my understanding is cotton prices are almost at a very high level, but still Indian cottons are cheaper than the globally the cotton. I personally believe in the cotton prices should not be any drop in the cotton prices in domestic market. And if you look at the international market also, it went from 93 cents to 84, 85 cents, and again bounced back to 90 cents. Right. It also indicates that there is no regions that globally also the cotton prices may go down. In terms of the yarn, yes, there could be some small drop in the prices could happen, but my understanding is spinning margin will remain good for next few quarters at least. And overall long term also I see textiles should be doing, when I say long term at least 1 or 2 years, I see a good output out of the textile business. Good margin, you can say.
Okay, that was helpful. So just one last question, if I can squeeze in. In terms of our soda ash, the key customer segments, there was some analysis which said that around 50% of the country is, facing some kind of lockdown, and we've already had 15-20 days, in lockdown in various states, varying degrees. So if you can just share some thoughts on, how has the month of April been for our soda ash demand, and do you anticipate, for instance, Maharashtra has extended the lockdown by another 14 days, and new states kind of keep, the names keep coming. So any thoughts on what impact that could have on the demand if people are not allowed to kind of make purchases, and its possible impact? I mean, have we already noticed any dip in our demand, or it is still too early?
See, like you rightly said, though the government has announced that there will be no national lockdown, but some of the local lockdown definitely has been felt into the business. I would say up till now, there's not a very significant drop in the demand. But word of caution, I would say that word of caution probably for the short-term period of time, maybe some impact can happen on the soda ash demand. But I don't see this as for a long-term kind of a scenario. Maybe 1 month could be a period. Because you see, overall, look at glass. Glass is basically because there were a lot of import coming in India from Malaysia, which has been stopped now. So that is enhancing that overall domestic production has gone up. Detergent, which is again used for, and you know that out of the total detergent consumes around 40% of the soda ash out of the total demand. There, the demands are better than the pre-COVID level, and I don't see that there will be a very significant drop into the detergent demand because the hygiene has become more important. So overall, my understanding is short term, yes, there could be some impact, but medium terms, I don't see much.
Great, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Nitin Damania from Kotak Securities. Please go ahead.
Thank you, sir, for an opportunity to jump in here. So just wanted to check on the follow-up questions the previous participants. Like, as you have already mentioned that you will be enhancing your product basket. So are we venturing into chemicals where we can use our own raw materials, or we are looking into venturing into a totally different set of chemicals?
No, but like I said, the chemical which we'll be talking about, of course, we are in the process of identifying the opportunities. The chemical which will be matching with our core competency. We are very clear on one thing that we know that what is our core competency, bulk chemicals and things like that. Probably those kind of things we will be looking at, and that process of identifying an opportunity is already on.
Okay. So by when we will be finalizing it, and as in management, have you decided what type of capital that will be spending it to enhance our product basket?
Like I said, at this point of a time, only the thought has started. We have started exploring the various opportunities. We are talking to some of the experts, and probably at the right time we will come back to our shareholders to give what kind of a business we are looking at. But in slightly long-term view, our see that we need to kind of expand our baskets of the product, matching with our core competency.
Okay. So coming on to our inorganic chemical business, now this year as a whole, we did a near about volume of around 933,000. So the next year we will be doing additional 50,000 tons of volumes, right? Or we will be doing more than that?
See, depending
on what targeting is.
Just now, one of the shareholders has asked me about what is the outlook for 2021-22. If the situation continues the way we have expected a normalcy, probably this year you will be looking at a much better number than the last year. And this another 50,000 will be available for 22-23. Maybe some portion of that could be this year. So probably you will be looking at a good growth in the number this year as compared to last year. But as you know, that last year was because of the COVID, first 6 months there was a loss of production.
Right. So last question from my side, I will again come back in a few. So if you look that during the quarter, I mean sequentially from the last 4 quarters, we are seeing the decline in the realization, that is because of the withdrawal of anti-dumping duty. But despite that, we have seen a 100 basis improvement in the soda ash margin. So what can be attributed that to, improving the margin to?
See, overall, as you rightly said, our pricing of soda ash has dropped by around 1%. However, the overall our production is better as compared to. Raman, can you answer this question? I'm sorry.
Yeah, basically, the overall EBITDA margin has slightly gone down compared to the previous quarter because of the drop in price by 1%. Hello?
Yeah.
And you are talking about the inorganic chemical business, no?
Yes.
in organic chemical business, there is a marginal reduction of margin 1%, and that is largely because of 1% reduction in drop in price compared to the previous quarter.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Rahul Veera from Abacus. Please go ahead.
Hi, sir. Just wanted to understand, for this additional 60,000 tons of sodium bicarbonate that you are adding, what is the capex there?
Raman, what is the total number for this around 60,000 tons?
Sir, this will be in the vicinity of around 60 to 70 crores, something like that number.
Okay. So, and our FY22 capex outlay for chemical division would be?
See, there is some, overall chemical division this year should be in the vicinity of around 275 crores, approx. 275 to 300 crores, because there is a carryover which we did not do last year, because of the COVID labor was not there. So that be accomplishing, plus some fresh capex that will be undertaking this year. Hopefully, if the situation improves, we should be able to implement these initiatives this year.
Sure. And so what kind of margins does the sodium bicarbonate has? Is it better than the EBIT margins of our soda ash segment?
Raman.
Definitely. See, you must be knowing that we require almost 0.67 or 0.7 tons of soda ash to produce a ton of sodium bicarbonate. So, and the price remains more or less, you sell at the same price. So in a way, effectively, you achieve additional margin of close to 25% compared to soda ash on a like-for-like basis.
Sure. Fair point, sir. I come back in the queue, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Sarvesh Gupta from Maximal Capital. Please go ahead.
Good afternoon, sir, and thanks a lot for taking my question. So, sir, first question is, you alluded to the global scenario of not any major supply coming in, and would it be right to say that given that globally supply is not going to come in, major supply is not going to come in the next couple of years, so we can assume that the pricing outside will be sort of also stabilizing the pricing in India, which has been on a falling trend for the last several quarters.
No, you are right. You will be seeing the prices slightly improving from here.
Okay. And earlier, I think, before even the COVID, I think we had a larger inventory in the market, which was also causing some disruption in the pricing. And now with, the intermittent lockdowns, especially some segments like automobiles, etc., might be again sort of not taking in more supplies or something like that. So how is the situation panning out in terms of inventory and demand in the domestic market for you, given this COVID situation?
See, at this point of the time, I would not. I would say that the inventory has slightly gone down as compared to what it was in the last quarter. However, how this pandemic second wave will happen, it will decide that what kind of inventory level will be there. But I just said, if I look at slightly longer term, I don't see that as a big concern.
Okay. And so just one more point on the demerger side. I think, earlier we were expecting that to be over by maybe the first quarter of this year. But now it looks like it has now spilled to almost third quarter of this financial year. So, in terms of the management of that process, it seems like we are getting delayed a bit. So any thoughts on, if there is some way to expedite that?
See, if I have to kind of put, COVID definitely has made an impact on the timeline. Of course, the first time when we decided, our thoughts was that it should likely to be completed by all means by July. However, because of the COVID, the banking or the secured creditors, they have appointed some agency for evaluation. They got into the COVID Chakravyuh, if I can use the right word. And because of this, the entire process has got delayed. So first, there was some delay by the stock exchange approval, and which was not very big, I would say that. But this, because of this COVID, the approval of the lenders has got delayed by 3 months. And that is where the 3 months of the delay is happening, which is purely, according to my understanding, is purely not in our control. But we are trying our best to get secured creditors approval on 8th of July. And once that gets completed, then probably all other processes will be done.
Okay. Just one bookkeeping question. What is the net debt in both the businesses, and would it be possible now to sort of completely give financials of these two companies now that we are close to the demerger process?
Raman, can you answer?
See, the total net debt approximately is around 725 crore rupees, and in inorganic chemicals is around 450 crore, and in the textile is around 275 crore rupees. See, whatever is required as per the law in the segment reporting, we have been reporting, and in the segment reporting, the textile numbers are very clearly given separately. And in addition to that, whatever information is sought from us that we are providing, only post further information can only be given once this demerger process is over. But I think in our disclosures, in our investor presentation, we are giving all the requisite details which has been sought by the investors.
Thank you, sir, and all the best for the coming quarters.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Swami, an individual investor. Please go ahead.
Hi, sir. Congrats on a good set of numbers, especially in the textile segment. I just had a query on the consumer segment, sir. Can you throw some light on how is it panning out? What was some of their numbers there? What is the strategy there? Something like that.
Yeah, Mr. Swami, thank you very much. You see, on the consumer product, the last year has not been done good. In our product of salt, there was a major impact on the production of the raw salt because of the weather condition, and we could not produce the raw salt, and because of that, we have not been able to produce the refined salt also, which is sold into the consumer packs. So there was a drop in that also. Similarly, our honey and the spices segment has also not done well because of the COVID. We have not been able to kind of penetrate and supply the product to the market well in time, and because of that, there was a hit on that. Going forward, Mr. Swami, our thought process at this point of the time is we are focusing more on our salt business, more on to make it stabilize, and on the other product like spices and honey, we are trying to stabilize in our southern part of the country instead of looking at a global arena of that product. So probably this year also you will not see a big growth into the consumer product business 21-22.
Okay, sir. Sure. Thank you. All the best.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Resham Jain from DSP Investment Managers. Please go ahead.
Yeah, hi. Good evening, sir. So I have just two questions. So first one is on soda ash business. In the current month, as you mentioned, the demand has started improving, and you said there was just 1% fall in the realization. In the last month, have we seen any reversing of this falling trend in soda ash prices?
Yeah, Mr. Resham, like I said, if you look at in the month of April, I would say there is a slight improvement into the pricing. Because last quarter, as a year, for the January-March, the prices were dropped by 1% from the last October-December quarter. But you can say end of the March, beginning April, the upward movement of a little bit of has started happening into the soda ash pricing. So going forward, my belief is improvement in the prices should be seen.
Okay. Got it. And so my second question is on the FY22 in terms of the overall capex you've guided for around 300 crores. And generally, if we look at your cash generation, it is upward of 500 crores. So how do you will we see further decrease in debt this year, or you will preserve cash to go for buyback the way you did last year? Because
yeah, Mr. Nikam, buyback probably will be only possible after the demerger is approved, because in between the demerger process is on, we cannot go for the buyback. And once the process of demerger happens, and then probably we can look at that buyback option. In terms of the cash generation, as you rightly said, our plan at this point of the time is we will deploy this year's earning into the business in a way fully. So like I said, 300 to 400 crores, because some investments are also being made into in the spinning sector also. All net and net, probably our debt level should be in the same range what it is today, which I think is a quite comfortable debt position.
Okay. Got it, sir. Thank you and all the best.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Jayesh Gandhi from Harshad Gandhi Securities. Please go ahead.
So one of my questions has already been answered. First of all, congratulations for good set of numbers. I just wanted to know what is the rate of interest on our debt, and is it different for our inorganic chemical and textile, or we are drawing on the same GHCL?
Raman, would you like to answer that?
Yeah, surely. See, on our term debt side, our approximate rate of interest is around 8.25%, and this is more or less the same for both the businesses, inorganic chemical as well as textile. On the short-term borrowing, the rate is less than 6%. It's in the vicinity of 5 to 6% in between, something like around 5.5%.
And one last question, if I can ask, whatever capex which we are doing, are we thinking of doing it into, putting added money into our consumer business, or it's going to be only chemical and B2B business?
At this point of time, the capex which we are talking about is only in the B2B business.
Okay, that's all from my side, sir. Best of luck for future.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Ashish Rampuria, an individual investor. Please go ahead.
Thanks for the opportunity. So my first question, I think very strategic one. The intent of this demerger was only to create value, or there's some thought process that maybe the promoters will sell stake in one to a strategic investor and then raise stake in the other entity. Is there some thought around that?
Not really. It is basically to kind of, like you rightly said, one is creating a value, and secondly, strategically it makes sense that both the business which has a different competency required, different mindsets required, different resources required, different merger and acquisitions kind of opportunity, or the foreign collaboration or the collaboration required. So I think strategically this split was from that perspective.
Okay, so the promoters will sort of continue with existing proportion that way. Have they given any indication they would want to increase stake or something like that to the board or to the management?
And at this point of time, we don't have such kind of indication, any such indication.
Okay, got it. My second question was that I think given, if I remember correctly, we used to India used to import soda ash also from Turkey, and that was sort of impacting pricing. Given the pandemic and sort of the shortage of containers that we're seeing globally, have you seen those imports going down?
Yes, if you look at, like I said in my statement also, last year the total overall drop in the import was 25%. And that primarily the drop was from Turkey and US. And I personally believe that this year also the numbers should be in the similar range of what it was last year. So therefore, definitely that will have an advantage to the domestic industry in terms of the overall. If the demand grows the way the industry is predicting, 10 to 12%, and the import remains at the same level, probably that advantage should come to the domestic industries.
Fair enough. I think just link question one last. I think there was also some talk of some anti-dumping duty, etc., that was being talked about. Was there any movement on that?
We have applied for an anti-dumping duty against Russia and Iran. Because at this point of time, the major import which is coming from Russia and Iran, and as you know, that earlier we had applied for anti-dumping duty on Turkey and US, which has not been accepted by the government. Now the first application is on Iran and Russia.
But so major proportion of import is happening from Iran, Russia as of now?
No, US and Turkey also continues, but see, it's increase in the import last year, in 2021, but primarily from Russia and Iran. And they are slightly more aggressive in the pricing. So probably if we can get an advantage on anti-dumping duty, that will really help us.
Got it. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Before we take the next question, a reminder to the participants. In order to ensure that the management is able to address questions from all participants, please limit your questions to 2 per participant. Should you have any follow-up, we would request you to rejoin the queue, please. The next question is from the line of Saket Kapoor from Kapoor Company. Please go ahead.
Yeah, namaskar sir, and dhanyawad sir for this opportunity. Sir, firstly, in your presentation, you have articulated about this Turkey playing a strong part in distribution of soda ash across the globe. Sir, what is their current capacity as of now, and what have been the utilization levels at Turkey as a country, sir, since the import to India has been down? So,
see, Turkey has around Turkey has around 5.9 million metric tons of the total capacity. Out of that, there are 3 players: ET Soda, which is 1.7 million; Kazan Soda, which is 3 million; and there is another producer which is around 1.2 million. And average utilization is around 75% to 80%.
Okay, sir. And sir, what is our soda ash volume, sir, for the entire year, the production and the sales number?
In India?
No, for us, sir. For GSCL, what was the soda ash volume number?
Roughly around 900,000 tons.
900,000 ton on an installed base of 11.5.
I would say, yes, you can say 11 lakh tons producible quantity. Out of that, because of this COVID, first 6 months was very dropped. And last quarter, our utilization was around 95%.
95% of 11 lakh?
Yes.
Okay. And so that 50,000 ton which debottlenecking is already through, sir?
Like I said, this process is on, and probably this year end, because of the COVID, it has not got completed last year. It will get completed this year, and the benefit will come next year.
Right. So coming to this home textile part, sir, a bit. So if we compare Q1Q numbers for home textile, how correct it is first to get stand corrected. The Q3 numbers, the Q4 numbers are slightly depressed on a standalone basis. However, on a consolidated basis, there is a good increment of 8 crore on a top line increase of around 15-16 crore. So if you could explain, sir, what has gone into the consolidation. I think so the yarn prices were on the upward side only for the March quarter also.
Raman, can you?
Yeah, basically there are 2 reasons, Saketji, on this. One is that in the previous quarter there was an export incentive of ROSTL benefit which was there, which we have considered as per the government scheme. However, in this quarter there is a new scheme which is RODTEP. So that scheme, the government has still not notified the rate of incentive. So on a prudent basis, we have not considered any incentive on that account. Last quarter it was almost 7 crore rupees. So that way, that piece is not there. In addition to that, there is one more expenditure, which is we have surrendered one land during this quarter, in this year. So there is an impact of 5 crore rupees that we have surrendered to the government to take care of the colony and the roads in that colony. So the impact of that is around 5 crore rupees. So that impact, or the combined impact of that is 12 crore rupees vis-a-vis the previous quarter. I hope that explains the whole thing.
But sir, on the consolidation, it has gone up by 8 crore. So what explains that? I missed that.
On the consolidation, you see, there is that there is a overseas subsidiary which is there in USA. So that that subsidiary, there were certain earlier impact, that losses which they were having there, because they are into the .com business and they are into various other products. So that impact of that was considered in our Indian books during the quarter, and so that was already accounted for in the consolidated books in the previous year. So that is the reason that you find on the consolidated basis that number is higher.
So we have reversed it. That is what you are saying.
See, we have taken the impact in Indian books because that impact is already there in the overseas books in the previous year.
I didn't get it. I'll take it offline, sir. Anyway, and on the water and the water power charges, sir, there is a significant reduction quarter-on-quarter basis. So on a analyzed basis, sir, what kind of reduction are sustainable, sir? The power, fuel, and water expenses.
You see, Saketji, this power fuel, what the reduction has happened is not sustainable because we have got some green energy charges, which was earlier booked, which was not required as per the new notification. So we had reversed those green energy charges, and because of that, you have got that advantage. But that is not sustainable.
Right, sir. And sir, lastly, sir, on the capex part, sir, you told that this year the entire thrust will be of the company to invest in the capex out of the entire cash flow. There will be no significant reduction in debt as we are already in a very good position. So, sir, exactly going forward, sir, क्या budget? How have we shaped our cash flows for this year? What exactly are we going to do segment-wise? If you could reiterate.
Mr. Saket, like I said, greenfield, brownfield expansion is the one. Sodium bicarbonate is another one. And in the spinning, we are green energy also we are investing. That's the third. Investing into the spinning business also is another one. All these investments, we are also looking at some backward integration, like I said, salt, some salt investment. So those kind of investments. Like you rightly said, our cash generation, the level, and going beyond this debt will probably not be prudent from the shareholders' perspective. So we are looking at an opportunity which at least gives us a 14 to 15% return on that investment. We are looking at that investment.
So you told greenfield projects. Where are we? Yeah, I'll come in the future. No issue.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Andre Purushottam from Cogito Advisors. Please go ahead.
Yeah, hi, Mr. Jalan. This is Sangeeta. Congratulations on a great set of numbers. I have two questions. One is that if you look at the fourth quarter as a base, then would it be fair to say that in this year, in the current year, our margins are going to be either equivalent or better than what we have achieved in the fourth quarter? That's number one. Second is that could you give an indication of what kind of volume growth we are likely to achieve in the current year?
So, Sangeeta, thank you very much for your appreciation. Let me try to, on one side, like I said, so that overall pricing, we are probably looking at a kind of a upward movement. How much it has to be seen, and this pandemic, how this pandemic shape out to be, it's a slightly uncertain situation at this point of the time.
Right.
But we are optimistic. If everything goes well, probably the prices should be looking at an upward movement.
Right.
But as you know that even the raw material prices has also gone up, particularly the energy prices has also gone up.
Right.
Now, how does this energy prices also shape up? Because there also we are seeing a lot of volatility in that. At this point of a time, predicting that what kind of a margin will be there during the whole year probably will be not be right because of so much of volatility and so much of uncertainty of all this pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
In terms of the volume, like you rightly said, again, it entirely depends on how the pandemic plays out. But surely this year we are looking at if the production does not stop because of the pandemic, probably there should be a good improvement into overall production. Last year we have achieved something around 900 something. Probably this year it should be something around 10.5 if everything goes well, probably.
Right. Okay. All right. Thank you very much and all the best.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Kamal JG from an individual investor. Please go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Jalan, for this opportunity. There is our rupee has fallen by 5%. So should we expect that the imported prices will go up by 5% and that will push the prices up further?
You see, you are right in terms of not only the dollar has kind of appreciated, but on the other side, the supply chain cost has also gone up because container availability and container freight all has gone up. And surely that should have an impact on the pricing. That is what I'm trying to maintain, that prices should be looking at an upward. But how does this pandemic, because everything is at this point of a time is dependent on how the pandemic pans out to be. If the pandemic does not make any major impact, probably yes, you will be seeing those kind of a improvement in the numbers.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Giriraj Daga from KM Visaria Family Trust. Please go ahead.
Hello, sir. Yeah. So my question is related to pricing. So you mentioned that in April we are seeing some slightly better prices compared to March. Would you be able to quantify, let's say, what was the April month average versus the March quarter average?
Regarding, I'm sorry, I've not understood your question.
Soda ash prices, you mentioned that April, we are seeing from the April beginning, better prices compared to last quarter. I'm asking, would you be able to quantify how the April average has been versus last March quarter average?
I don't think we will be, at this point of a time, we will be able to quantify those numbers because overall, like I said, a lot of things will depend on how the thing, quantification will be difficult at this point of time.
Okay. Second question was related to when I look at some of the international prices, soda ash prices, that those have gone up. So has that started impacting the import segment in our country? So are the importers seeing higher prices as of now, or the countries where the imports are happening, Russia, there the prices are not gone up? Can you clarify that?
Russian prices has also started going up. In last few months, we are seeing that the Russian prices also started going, are being quoted at a higher price. Iran also has started quoting, because you see, like I said, now the freight cost has gone up significantly from across the globe. That has a direct impact onto the pricing of the product. That is number one. Number two, like someone has very rightly said, even rupee dollar has kind of has made an impact. So overall, definitely the imported product has become costly as compared to what it was a few months back.
Okay. And the last question is on the capex. You mentioned this year 300 crore. But when we hitting a large part of our greenfield capex, this is one of our growth projects.
In terms of the greenfield project, again, there's land acquisition. We have roughly invested, or I would say we have acquired around 75%?
Yeah, 75% acquisition we have already done.
And now this 25% of the land which is still pending, and because of this pandemic, movements are not taking place. People are on a different locations. So slightly slowdown is there on that. The moment that gets completed, and it will not be a very significant amount to be put into the buying of that land. So we don't see a very large sum of money getting invested into the greenfield project during 21-22.
I know that, sir, you are not expecting this, but when that will start hitting in 23, 24, which year we should assume that?
It should be, I think it should start happening from 22 onwards. Investment will start happening. However, major portion of that amount will be in 23. 23, 24.
Understood. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Ritesh Gandhi from Discovery Capital. Please go ahead.
Right. I just had a couple of questions. This entire kind of 250 to 300 crores of capex that we're expecting to do. So all of this is growth capex effectively, or is some of it actually maintenance? And actually, when do we see effectively the utilization of this, where we can do 15 to 18% ROC we have been targeting?
See, Mr. Gandhi, this entire investment which we are talking about is largely on growth projects. Like I said, investment into this brownfield expansion or sodium bicarbonate or into the green energy. All these are growth capex, and that will definitely have on one side your top line will increase. On the other side, your revenue or your bottom line will also increase. Even the investment into the spinning also will increase your overall top line and bottom line. So this is, in a summary, I can say this is entirely for growth of the business, where our expectation is in the range of around return on capital should not be less than around 14 to 15%.
Got it. But so we would be okay to do a capex even at a 13% ROC. Is that what we're indicating?
Yeah, Mr. Gandhi, you see, just now Raman said that our interest cost is in the range of around 8%. Okay, 7 to 8%. If I look at all the put together, and 13-14% of the return on investments, probably on the return on equity is a good set of numbers. And that also helps you to grow your business and capture the opportunity going forward also. So we are okay with 13-14% also. But at this point of time, our target is 14 to 15%.
Got it. Okay. And then, you should indicating that you're expecting to see reasonably actually healthy spread in spinning over the next few years. Now, we are obviously also hearing that from a lot of the other largest spinners as well. And the people are talking about a record actually spread in spinning. Just want to understand, if you could explain to us the reason we are seeing this and how can it sustainable do we see this is? Is it that a demand increase that has happened? Is it a supply shock? Is it the China issue? Just wanted to understand that.
Yeah, Mr. Gandhi, as you very rightly said, this overall, what I see is kind of a slightly structural change. Because see, in China, there are a lot of customers or a lot of consumers. Consumer in the sense I'm saying retailers. They don't want to depend on China on their supply. And particularly now this issue of Xinjiang, where the forced labor or the compliance has become a big issue. I was attending one of our strategic customers of the US as a vendor, and they very clearly came out that they want to reduce their dependence on the China. So I see that as an opportunity for Indian as well as Bangladesh and Vietnam as a country to supplement those supply. And that is the reason I see slightly longer terms of the benefit of that happening to Indian players. And obviously the spinning will have advantage of that as well. And that is what we are seeing at this point of the time. The second point, which is specific to us, in the last 2-3 years, Mr. Gandhi, we have been focusing on moving towards the value-added segment. So now I'm happy to say that we have been able to produce premium products like your Pima yarn, Giza yarn, Australian yarn, and air-jet spinning. So those value addition, high quality, what you call strategic customers, all those movements which we have done is also helping us to make a better margin than a normal industry. In addition to that, as you know, that our costs are also, because we have put money into the green energy of solar power and wind energy and things like that. Overall, our cost structure is also much lower. So overall, our margins are much better in the spinning business.
Got it, understood. And just a last question, and I think you have covered it earlier, but you just wanted to understand that with the exchange rate, which would be making local prices higher, and your freight costs, which you've also indicated have been materially higher. Yet, we haven't seen the impact on pricing despite the Q4 effectively being a reasonably strong quarter across industries, So just want to understand, actually, what's the reason why an equivalent increase in prices even in Q4, and actually, what is it that is going to drive it to effectively the earlier levels, and how much lower are we than earlier highs, and actually, when do you think we can get back into those areas of pricing?
So, Mr. Gandhi, you're very right. The overall international prices have started going up, but you know that the supply chain and the impact some of the contracts which are on the fixed nature even for the people who are importing. There were some of the contracts which had been made in the before. In India also, we have certain contracts which are on a 3 month to 6 month period of time. All those things, equations are there, even in the domestic demand supply.
Understood.
Everything plays out onto the this thing. Any impact of the pricing takes some time.
Got it.
And,
so it's a lag effect
Mr. Gandhi.
of...
Yeah, sorry, let him complete. Sorry. Okay. Yeah, go ahead, Mr. Gandhi.
So it is a lag effect effectively of the pricing increase, which then is already starting, hopefully, to reflect. There may be some small disruption which may happen depending on the pandemic, but otherwise, the reason we haven't seen it in Q4 is because of the longer term contracts we have.
Yeah, Mr. Gandhi, you very rightly said that probably slight improvement you will start gradually seeing into the pricing going forward, depending, but of course subject to the pandemic.
Understood. Thank you. That's all.
Thank you, Mr. Gandhi.
Thank you.
Yeah.
A reminder to the participants, please limit your questions to one per participant. The next question is from the line of Anish Jobalia from Banyan Capital Advisors. Please go ahead.
Yeah, hi, good evening, sir, and thank you for the opportunity. Hope my voice is audible to you. I joined the call a bit late, so please apologize if I have repeated the question. But I just wanted to understand, sir, from you. So in this year, in the textile business has suddenly turned around, and we know that one of the reasons is because the yarn spreads have also improved. So just wanted to understand what are our long-term plans with the textile business. Now, given that you are also looking to invest in the spinning, so just want to understand what is the rationale for doing that? I mean, you could invest also into other areas like home textiles or fabrics. I mean, there are many other areas where you could invest as a textile player. And I know that your forte has been spinning business, but how is this going to help us in terms of growth, margin improvement, ROE, ROC profile going forward? That would be helpful to understand your thought process behind it. Thank you.
No, you're right. You have a very valid questions on the textile side. As you know that both the businesses are under the process of a demerger, and every business has to take their own course of action. And at this point of the time, why we thought of making an investment into the spinning business, because that is our core competency, and we have seen in many years our margin in that business is reasonably very good. And ultimately, we are in the business for making margins, right? And if I look at the long-term kind of the return on that investment, I see around 15% return on an average return on the capital on the spinning business. Whereas our home textile, as you know, that home textile is not giving that kind of a return. So for us, it makes sense to make an investment into the spinning, and that also we have an inspiration that in the spinning, of course, after the demerger, that there will be a separate company, a separate board will be there. But at this point of time, on behalf of the spinning, we want to be a company where we have a basket of the product of all the spinning type of product. Any spinning product which you think of, or any yarn if you think of, we should be a producer of that yarn. So we are moving in that kind of a product basket and value-added segment, and that will definitely give us a good return. And that is the reason we are going for that. Home textile, we have already made an investment.
Okay, so just wanting to understand another question. So around the road tape, we were not able to book any revenues around that. But going forward, what is your expectation now that it's been already 4 months or so since that has been abolished, the earlier incentives? So what is your best guess around how this is going to be going forward? I mean, how will this impact our business?
See, at this point of the time, it is very difficult to predict what kind of a number government will be announcing. But the previous rate was around 8.2% on STL, right? Now, how much the government will be announcing, it is very difficult. And that is the reason, as a prudent basis, we have not accounted for any incentive in our books of account. In terms of the competitiveness, yes, you are right. This incentive definitely will have a more competitive advantage to the Indian producers. And I'm sure that the government is looking at that, and surely they will be coming out with a reasonable incentive, and which is primarily of reimbursement of all the taxes which you are paying on to the raw materials and things like that, which is completely WTO compliant. and I'm sure the government will be coming out with a good set of numbers on this.
Okay, fine. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Pankaj Bobade, an individual investor. Please go ahead.
Thanks a lot for taking my question and congrats on good set of numbers, sir. Just wanted to understand more about the home textile business. You have highlighted Xinjiang province issues related to that, but I wanted to understand how is the target market, the developed markets, how are they behaving, and because they also had faced impact of pandemic, how is the demand with the retailers and how are we responding to it?
Yeah, as you rightly said, if I look at the developed market like US, I think the COVID impact is slowly going away from there, and the demands are picking up. And particularly, the people are working from home, and since they are working from home, they want to kind of invest into their home, and that is the reason the demand of the home textile products are good. And my belief is that since this work from home will continue for a few more quarters, probably the demand for the home textiles should continue to be good going forward as well. Similarly, the same situation happens in the Europe at this point of time, barring one or two countries. So overall, demand of the home textile at this point of time is good.
So what is our current capacity utilization, and do we see India benefiting from the same?
Yeah, India definitely should be getting a benefit because, as I said, China issue, India should be getting a benefit. And our capacity is approximately around 45 million. Is 45 million, right?
45 million meters for the year as a whole, 37
million
per month.
Yeah, so it's a 45 million. And at this point of a time, we have an opportunity of making an investment into that area also, but right now we are not making an investment on that.
So what was the capacity utilization so far?
See, overall, we are at this point of a time on our direct export, probably we are doing roughly around 60%, and balance we are doing for the domestic producers. And overall, we are running our plant fully.
Fully means 80-85 or higher than that? 85%?
No, it is roughly around 90% plus. But the balance, like I said, 35% of the production is primarily not for the export. That's an opportunity we have kind of to convert that into the export.
So you mean to say currently 60% of the capacity is utilized for exports market, while
yes,
rest is underutilized, and we will be converting that for exports market going forward.
Yes, that is what the aim is.
Okay, my last question. How have been the realizations so far? Are they on increasing trend or flat in nature?
Home textile? Your question is relating to home textile?
Yes. Realizations in home textile.
Yeah, home textiles, the prices are, I would say, slightly on the upward side because the raw material prices have gone up, yarn prices have gone up. Of course, the retailers are a little reluctant of increasing the price, but the industry is pursuing with the customers for increasing the price. Similarly, some of the retailers has agreed to increase the price, and some of the retailers still we are negotiating for the pricing. But overall, prices are better than the last period. However, the cost of the raw material is also gone up.
Okay, as you mentioned about raw material, do Indian textile makers get benefit of Indian cotton as compared to others?
Yeah, definitely.
In terms of pricing too?
Yeah, Indian cotton prices are cheaper than the international cotton prices.
Okay, so we are at advantage as compared to the global players, right?
Yes.
Yes. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Jason Soans from Monarch Network Capital. Please go ahead.
So thanks for taking my question. A very simple question actually. You mentioned that demand for textiles has been diverting from China to countries such as India, Vietnam, Bangladesh. Just wanted to know what are the main reasons for the same? There is definitely an anti-China sentiment due to the COVID and everything, but are there any other reasons which you find for this shift?
No, as you rightly said, first reason is the anti-sentiment, and second is that, like I said, there is a province, Xinjiang, where the cottons are being grown. 70% or 75% of the cottons are grown there. And there is a child labor issue is there, and because of that, lot of retailers, they have refused to buy any product which contains the Chinese cotton of that region.
Okay. So there is a child labor issue there. Fine. Great. Fine, sure. That's all from my side. Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Alisha Mahavia from Envision Capital. Please go ahead.
Hello, sir, and thank you for taking my question. While most of my questions have been answered, just wanted to understand that while the soda ash realizations have declined by about 4% YOY, can you give us the numbers for full year FY21 on FY20?
Yeah, Raman, can you give the what is the drop around overall?
The drop compared to the overall full year is around 10%.
10%.
For year on year it is 4%, but for the full year it is 10%.
Okay. And I believe earlier in answer to another participant, you said that you are expecting to do volumes of about 10.5 next year. Can you tell us what was the volume growth for the full year in the soda ash business for FY21 on 20?
There was a drop now because of the pandemic, the first 6 months was a drop. So overall, my understanding is 7% down, Raman?
Around 9% drop. 9%
Okay.
drop.
Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. A reminder to the participants, please limit your questions to one per participant. The next question is from the line of Rohit Nagraj from Sunidhi Securities. Please go ahead.
Thank you so much for the follow-up. Sir, one question is in terms of our debottlenecking. So after we go ahead with soda ash from 11 lakh to 11.5 lakh and bicarb from 60,000 to maybe 120,000, do we have further scope for debottlenecking at our existing plants for soda ash or bicarb? And is there further scope for any other chemicals to manufacture as you indicated in terms of our diversification initiative? Thank you.
At this point of a time, in terms of the brownfield expansion, no, at the current location. However, like I said, we are making investments and journey towards the IoT, and that will definitely improve our utilization. That will also improve our overall efficiency, and that can lead to the increase in the production. In terms of the other chemical, no, at this location, probably we will not be able to make any other chemical also because of the space constraint. And that is all these thoughts which we have is that we will be making an investment into the new location which we are in the process of acquisition.
Sir, just to add what you said, his another question was, can we add more capacity of RBC beyond this 120? I think there's some scope is there.
Yeah, there we have some scope, yeah.
Thank you so much and best of luck.
Thank you. The next question is a follow-up from the line of Saket Kapoor from Kapoor Company. Please go ahead.
Yes, sir. Precisely, sir, everything has been answered. But on the greenfield project part, sir, as you are already interesting on the fact that there will be two separate companies and they would be taking their growth on separately. So on this greenfield project, sir, definitely they are slow on it because of COVID factor. But still, sir, are we looking for any kind of M&A activity, a JV partner bringing in some bit of equity, giving us some valuation, giving us some gap on the valuation part? Something on that angle is there, or we are going to go solo on the project? So we have seen it earlier that many of the companies coming up with projects are partnering with their consumer itself for an offtake agreement. So anything of that that is there in the anvil, and for the time, and what is the timeline for expanding the product basket, sir? As you told that we are we only scratching the surface now, or some work has been done and now we are taking a further stride going forward. And one more point was on this, this reduction in royalty on soda ash for the US producers, sir. What would have been the reason, sir, from 6% to 2%, and what has that impacted the market, sir? And how? That's all.
Mr. Saket, first let me answer the last question first. The US natural producers and the mining community has been lobbying for the government of US to reduce the royalty on the mining soda. Now, at the time of the outgoing government, some government they have agreed and they have reduced this, or they have reduced the royalty onto the soda ash, and that has got an advantage to them. And obviously, that will enhance their competitiveness, or that will enhance their kind of a profitability. Sir, the last question answer is this. The first question which you said in terms of the opportunity of merger and acquisition, partnership, every opportunity is we are keeping our eyes and ears open, and we are looking at all the opportunity which can be possible. But at this point of time, something on our plate? No, at this point of time, we don't have any plate. But we are open for any such kind of options, and we are exploring those options. Now, coming back to the third point which you said, what was the third question you have in terms of Mr. Saket? What was the
yes, sir. Sir, even I have forgotten.
No. Basically, he said when you are exploring the product basket.
Product basket. Yeah. Thank you, Ramanji.
Yes. Is that only on surface or? Yeah.
Yeah. Saket ji, you can say very rightly that right now we are scratching the surface only. The thought has come into our mind because the growth is a very imperative, and the kind of a balance sheet we have. So we have definitely an inspiration that we should look at. But we don't want to be rushed and kind of make an investment. We want to properly evaluate, and see which is a synergy, our core competency, where the opportunity of a growth in the future is also there. We will be going with that, and not in a rush. So it's a thought and discussing at this point of a time, but surely we will be working hard towards this goal.
Yes. Lastly, sir, if you could give the volume data for December quarter and March quarter for our soda ash volume, production and sales numbers.
As you know, Saket ji, we are not sharing the data.
ठीक बात है सर. All the best, sir. Stay healthy and sir, please take due care.
Thank you, Saket.
Hope things improve. Thank you.
Thank you. As there are no further questions from the participants, I now hand the conference over to the management for closing comments. Over to you, sir.
Thank you very much, all the shareholders who have participated and asked us the various questions. As I have always been saying, your questions always put us a lot of thoughts in our mind and lots of challenges in front of us, and we are happy to kind of address those advice or the challenges. And in the last, I would say that please take care of yourself. Be safe. We are passing through a very difficult time, and I hope that all of you will be well along with your family. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of Emkay Global Financial Services, that concludes this conference. Thank you all for joining us, and you may now disconnect your lines.